What's up, guys? Thank you to everybody who's joining me today. My name is Liam, and I pick fights. I'm coming to you today with my betting action for the upcoming card, Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. It's a UFC heavyweight main event. The stakes don't get much higher. This might have championship implications moving forward. I'm really excited about this fight, guys. I think that there's fireworks. I think one of these two titans is going to fall in the main event. So we have a lot to look forward to. We have a ton of action to break down for today. I'm going to go over what action I have on the card and talk about some of these interesting matchups that we have here. But guys, before we get started, really quickly, I just want to ask everybody who's watching, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and it would mean a lot to this channel. We have a goal right now, which is to get to 50 subscribers by next Saturday, UFC 258. Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman. It's going to be an excellent welterweight main event. You guys know that I'm excited to break that one down for you. And please, it would really mean a lot to me if before then we could get this channel up to 50 subscribers. Still a new channel, but I hope you guys are seeing I'm making investments in the set. I'm making investments in the picks and the plays and the research. And I'm putting a lot of time, effort, and energy into this. So if you guys could do that favor for me, it would mean a lot. Getting right into the action, guys. I'm so excited to break this down. I think that this should be an excellent fight. Like I said, I think one of these two titans is going to fall. And the question is, who's it going to be? I think that Alistair Overeem is a great fighter. He's a legend of the game. And he's been on a really remarkable run given his age, guys. He's 41 years of age, and he's currently riding a 4-1 record in his last 5 fights in the UFC. That's really impressive stuff. The one fight that he lost there, he got knocked out in the last round, the last minute against Jairzinho Rozenstruik in a fight that he was winning. So very plausibly, Alistair Overeem could have been on a 5-fight winning streak coming into this fight. However, I will temper that enthusiasm with the reality that he is, I said he's 4-1 in his last 5. He's also 4-3 in his last 7. Okay, so we have to be careful sometimes with how we use those numbers. But Alistair Overeem has been knocked out 14 times across a long and illustrious career, guys. That for me is a big red flag, especially in heavyweight where there's such a small margin for error. Like I just described, he was in a fight with Jairzinho Rozenstruik that he was winning for virtually the whole contest, and he found a way to lose it at the end, in part because, he got hit with a devastating shot. But I think that Alistair's gas tank is not bad, especially by heavyweight standards, but I think that it's getting a little bit worse as time goes on. I think that, like any other athlete, as they get a little bit older, it's going to be harder to keep that pristine physical condition. Physical condition. And I think that Alistair is struggling right now with some of the transitions between being a powerful, bullying MMA fighter with being a more subdued, lower volume, wrestling, top threat, ground and pound finisher. And I think that in this fight, he's just in a tough stylistic matchup with the likes of Alexander Volkov. Why do I believe that? First and foremost, Alexander Volkov is a knockout artist of his own right. He has 21 knockout victories across the course of his career, and he looked very impressive in that fight against Walt Harris, guys. Go back and watch it. He was throwing these front kicks to the body, just setting Walt Harris on fire, and Walt Harris couldn't stand up to a teep kick to the body, I think it was, that ended up finishing that fight. And we've seen Volkov use that weapon a lot. He likes to throw that daggering front kick to the body. He also likes some uppercuts. He likes to throw the long jab. He likes to throw a long 1-2. And Volkov's very dangerous, guys. I think that this fight favors Volkov when it's being contested at range. I think that if this fight ends up primarily in the clinch, that would be where it may tend to favor Alistair, but I still think that Volkov has enough weapons and tools and offerings in the clinch to keep himself safe. I think the same thing if Alistair's to get him down. I think Alistair's been getting by taking people down with kind of sloppy, shoddy technique. Granted, guys, my background is in wrestling. I've wrestled for over 10 years. I have been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a year and a half. So the grappling martial arts are the ones that I'm more familiar and practiced in myself on a personal level. And the takedowns that Alistair Overeem was getting against Augusto Sakai, I mean, guys, those aren't real takedowns against real wrestlers. Those are really awkward half cut back type maneuvers. I just don't think that those wrestling holds will work against the likes of Volkov. I think he's too skilled. I think he's too athletic. I think that now he used to walk around a little bit lower, 245, 250. His last fight, he weighed in at 265, and he looked it. He looked huge. Alistair comes into his fights around 245, 250, as best I remember. So I think that Volkov's going to be bigger. I think he's going to be longer. I think he has better long-range tools and weapons. I think he can exploit the range. Guys, he's 8 or 9 years younger in this contest. He's about 32 years old. I think that Volkov has all the distinct physical advantages. I think that stylistically there are interesting parts of this matchup early. I think that Alistair has more success early than he does late. I think that the attritional damage from Volkov will pay off. I think that Volkov has an ability to manage fights and to win them over time. Barring the Derek Lewis stunt, guys, I can grant that if you had money on Alexander Volkov when he lost that fight against Derek Lewis by knockout in the closing seconds, I also would probably hesitate to play Volkov moving forward. But guys, I'll be honest with you, one of my most profitable nights betting in 2020 was when I bet on Alexander Volkov. I bet on him to win by knockout as well. And I bet on him inside the distance. So I stacked several wagers on Alexander Volkov the last time he was fighting Walt Harris, and I was able to make a pretty penny doing so. So tonight, I'm backing Volkov. I don't like the price, okay? So the money line price on Volkov is about minus 195 right now on my book, and I didn't like that price. I think that, full disclosure, I was not profitable betting heavyweight MMA overall in 2020. And so I'm trying to be careful in my heavyweight betting for 2021. I'm going to try and pick my spots a little bit more, but I've had a good read on Volkov in the past, and I believe that Volkov by knockout at plus 135, that's a great price. If Alistair is going to lose this fight, he's going to lose this fight by knockout in all likelihood. I mean, there's an outside possibility that it goes to decision, I grant that, but it's heavyweight MMA. These guys are both big hitters, and I don't expect that Alistair will be able to physically outmuscle or outsize Volkov in the wrestling exchanges, which will mean if he's able to outwrestle him, he'll have to use a ton of energy. And I think that Volkov has a better cardio. ABCs, baby, never forget him. Always bet on cardio. And I think that Volkov's going to have the better cardio. I think he's going to have the better striking at range. I think he's going to be able to dictate where this fight takes place, especially more so over time. And so I'm willing to stake 1.5 units plus 135, Alexander Volkov by knockout in the main event. Moving on, guys, down the card a little bit. I'm going to take another stab here at light heavyweight. This was a weight class that was profitable for me betting in 2020. I'm betting on Mike Rodriguez and Danilo Marques, okay? Mike Rodriguez is 11-5 with 1 no contest coming into this fight. He's the minus 235 favorite on the money line. And he's fighting Danilo Marques, who's 10-2 in his professional career, and he is currently plus 200 on the money line. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I think that this line is wrong. I don't think that the line is completely wrong. Here's what I mean. Mike Rodriguez likely should be a favorite in this contest, but I think that his price should be no higher than minus 125. This is a guy who's been favored in every one of his UFC contests, and over the course of his UFC run has gone 2, 3, and 1 no contest. I don't believe that deserves the distinction as a minus 235 favorite. And Danilo Marques was not exceptional in his first fight in the UFC. He fought Khadis Ibrahimov, who is not a great fighter. Full disclosure, he's kind of a can. I believe he's been released by the organization. If he hasn't been, he should be. He's not a good fighter. However, he is very good in the first round. He spends all of his energy in the first round and then is completely gassed for the remainder of the fight every time. That's the Khadis Ibrahimov story. And Danilo Marques was able to get to several single leg attacks that were very promising, and Kadish just grabbed the cage over and over a few times. I think by the 3-minute mark, the 2-minute 30-second mark, something like that, he was able to get a takedown. He was able to take the back several times. I think that Mike Rodriguez is susceptible to single legs. I think that he's susceptible to body lock takedowns. I think he's susceptible to giving up his back. I think he's susceptible to being submitted. I think, in addition, he's the more dangerous of the two on the feet, right? So why did I favor Mike Rodriguez slightly in my handicapping of this fight? I said he'd be about a -125 in my estimation. It's because of his striking, guys. He's a very powerful striker. He has interesting long kicks. He has long-range weapons. I think they're a little predictable, but he throws kicks up the middle. He throws kicks to the leg. Both are very hard. He can throw sort of moving backwards, plant and throw a kick. So he's not a terrible fighter, but I think that the fact that he was knocked out in the first round, who was that against? Oh my. Either way, Da Un Jung. That's the guy's name. Sorry, I couldn't think of it, and it would have drove me crazy. Da Un Jung. He got knocked out in the first round by Da Un Jung. He got submitted in his last fight against Ed Herman. And you can say all that you want about the refereeing in that fight. If you guys weren't familiar, the referee basically could have called a stop to the contest from a strike because Ed Herman went down after being hit to the body. But the referee mistakenly believed that it was a low blow. And so it ended up complicating the fight. Rodriguez thought he should win. Ed Herman kind of faked it a little bit and rolled with it and said he got hit in the nuts. So it was a whole catastrophe. But either way, Mike Rodriguez was whipping his ass the entire fight. And then they come back out and he starts getting hit a little bit more on the feet. Ed Herman tries to muscle him down, is able to start getting some positions. Then Mike Rodriguez gets on top and gets submitted. And guys, it was really low fight IQ. It was really disheartening. It shows that even if Mike Rodriguez is the better fighter in a fight, he could still lose. And I think that the fact that he's still a favorite this many outings into his UFC tenure is a mistake. Now, I should say this sizable a favorite. So the reason I'm taking this wager, guys, and let me get into it. The wager I have taken is 2 units on the money line, Danilo Marques at +200. So the reason I did that, guys, I have what I believe is an 11% implied advantage of what I believe the odds for this fight should be, around -125, +125, compared to what they are, -235, +200. With that big of a difference between how I'm lining the fight, and by lining the fight, I just mean how would I make the odds if I was the odds maker, right? So I would make the odds Mike Rodriguez -125, Danilo Marques +125. But if I can get Danilo Marques at +200, now that's in the point where that's a profitable bet for me. And I think that while he is not likely to win this fight 50 or more % of the time, Danilo Marques is certainly likely to win this fight more than 33% of the time, which is what the implied odds were. And so I'm taking a stab on Danilo Marques here. I'm taking 2 units on this wager because I believe I have a lot of implied value on the line. And I also took a 0.5 unit prop bet, so a small little stackable wager on this. Danilo Marques inside the distance. Guys, if you want to take a smaller wager, Mike Rodriguez gets finished. In the UFC, he's shown an ability to get finished. So Danilo Marques inside the distance at +375. He has 8 finishes across 10 pro wins. I don't think that that's a bad stab. I think Danilo Marques is more likely to get the sub than the KO. And the sub prop, I believe, was +550. So if you want to take some degenerate prop action on this card, I think that there might be some value on Danilo Marques. But again, guys, what you have to understand is that I'm playing a long game here. So I'm not trying to win necessarily every bet. Obviously, I want every bet to cash. But what I'm really trying to do is find value spots. Because if I'm betting value over time, I'm going to make money. And what I'm trying to do is make money long term. I'm not trying to make money and cash out after one event. I'm going to be back here again betting the next event. And so this is a long haul for me. I make marathon bets. I hope that Danilo Marques is able to come through for me. I believe that he is very live to win this fight. I believe he's live to win it by sub, but I'm also acknowledging up front, Mike Rodriguez could starch him on the feet, but I'm trying to get value long-term, and I think long-term there's a lot of value on Danilo Marques at plus 200 in this spot, so I'm going to take the shot on it. What other action do I have on this fight card? Guys, just so you know, refer over to my picks. If you forget, if you want to double check, if you say, what did he say? BetMMA.Tips /LiamHeslin. You'll be able to find all my picks available there, and I have normally written breakdowns for a lot of my picks. So if you want to know the rationale, if you want to know some of the stats, some of my observations from the film study, that's where you can find a lot of those outside of these breakdowns. So the other wagers that I have for this card, guys, I have 1 unit staked on Carlos Diego Ferriera against Beneil Dariush. You got to understand something. Beneil Dariush is one of my favorite fighters. It's very hard for me to pick against him here. I love Beneil. I think so highly of him as a person and as a fighter. But I also believe that he's just in for a rough stylistic matchup tomorrow night. And the reason I say that is because Carlos Diego Ferriera has been getting better and better since the first time they fought. So granted, these guys did match up. I believe it was in 2014. And the winner that outing was Beneil Dariush. And I think at the time, Beneil was the more developed, more advanced fighter. And I think that they've actually reversed roles. Ironically, Beneil Dariush is 31 years old, guys. He's not old by any stretch of the imagination. And Carlos Diego Ferriera is 36 years old. So he's on the older side, especially for one of these competitive divisions like lightweight. But Carlos Diego Ferriera is an animal. His last fight against Mirbek Taisumov was very impressive. He was able to land a lot of heavy blows. He was able to absorb heavy blows and keep coming forward. He seems very durable. He seems committed to a mission. He has a very coachable attitude. I like the relationship between him and his coach, Saif Sayoud. So I think that Beneil is a great fighter, but he's been skating a little bit on his abilities and his durability for the last few fights. I think he's been fighting a little bit lower in terms of the level of competition between himself and Carlos Diego of late. And I think that Carlos Diego has been more impressive and more thorough in some of his victories than Beneil has been. I think Beneil puts himself in danger, guys. I think on the feet, he's going to be constantly in danger in this fight. Granted, this fight should be absolute nutters. This fight should be fireworks. If you're not fired up for, if there's one fight to get fired up for on this card, it's this fight, okay? Lightweight is the best division in men's MMA, in my opinion. If not, it's bantamweight. They're both incredible. And what you're seeing is two guys who are basically on the outskirts. They're not even in the contendership conversation at lightweight because it's such a stacked division. But Beneil Dariush and Carlos Diego Ferriera are both murderers row, guys. These are killers. These are guys coming in on win streaks. These are guys with big, impressive resumes. And I think that the way that this matchup will play out is that Carlos Diego Ferriera is going to have an advantage on the feet. I think he's going to be a little faster. I think he's going to be a little more crisp. I think he's going to put out a little more volume. And I think he's probably going to end up catching Beneil Dariush, who, again, is one of my favorite fighters, who's a action fighter, who is one of the best and most fun guys to watch in UFC history. Watch the Beneil Dariush knockout highlight reel. You will not be disappointed. But unfortunately for Benny, I think that he's going to come into a little bit of a tough matchup here against a surging Carlos Diego Ferriera. I have 1 unit on Carlos Diego at -110. I think that he should probably be favored a little closer to -135 in all likelihood. Maybe minus 145, -150. But I think that overall, Carlos Diego Ferriera a little more advanced at this stage of the game in terms of what he's bringing to the table. I think Beneil Dariush relying a little too much on his toughness, his heart, his durability, and I think that it's going to cost him finally. So, guys, that is my betting action for this card. There's other great fights on here. Cory Sandhagen and Frankie Edgar in the co-main event. What an incredible fight. I don't have any action on it. I could tell you, I think it's a dog or pass situation given the betting line. Frankie Edgar's currently plus 300. Cory Sandhagen's, I believe, around minus 365 or so right now. And I think that this fight should be bonkers. I hardly know what to say. Guys, I want to stress this. This is a well-matched fight card. A lot of fights on this card. Alexandre Pantoja, Manel Kape. Didn't even look at taking a stab at that. I have no idea who's going to win that fight. I think that that's an excellent fight. I think the UFC came out swinging with this card. I'm not the guy who's going to be pining for UFC heavyweight main events. I prefer some of the lighter weight action. But guys, I got to grant it to them. When they get it right, they get it right. The UFC has put together a pretty stacked card, even despite some fights falling off. So please, guys, if you want my full picks for this event, follow me on Twitter at HeslinLiam. If you want to find me, you can search for me on Instagram as well. Liam Picks Fights. I put out some stuff there. Guys, I am growing something here. I'm really excited about what we're doing. I'm glad I was able to put this video out. Full disclosure, guys, what's next for me? Liam Picks Fights in real life, okay? I'm going to a jiu-jitsu tournament tomorrow, and it's a submission-only event. I'm really excited about it. I have been under the gun, training, trying to get the research done all at the same time. And so I'm peaking for tomorrow. Guys, stay tuned. There's going to be next week, you can expect from this channel another breakdown for the card that's coming next week. Hopefully a betting breakdown from all of January. That should be in the works for next week as well. Guys, in addition, hopefully I'll have a grappling highlight for you if I'm able to get the success that I'm looking for tomorrow.